She was totally committed to what she did and the importance of, telling the story and writing it and getting it out to the world, no matter what. That was her life. John Ryan told me that he talked to her yesterday and he felt it was really more dangerous than anything and that she should come out. And he told me that she told him that she was on a story that was important and she wanted to finish it and that she would leave today. And that's really hard because it was just one day. She grew up in Oyster Bay, East Norwich area, graduated from our local school, but she grew up in a time when a lot of things were happening. They were happening with women, civil rights movement, Vietnam War, we were all big protesters as a family. Everything is different now because it's instant, and you know what's happening almost as it's happening. Years ago, I would only find out how dangerous it was afterwards. So now it's a little harder. I would know when she's in a place, and what's happening in that place is so current. So it's a lot more of a worry in the last few years than it used to be.
And she was a great friend and a lot of fun as well. And I think the one thing that I would say is that the first thing that she would say if she could listen to all of this would be to make some self-deprecating joke. And she'd also say that the real story with other people in Syria, the people who she was there to report on. She was neither one of the journalists who liked to be part of the story herself. She was a real nuts and bolts journalist who would get down and work very hard to get the story. She sent me an email the other day, and she said in that, the piece that she had in the Sunday Times last weekend, she said that was one of those we got into journalism for. They are killing with impunity here. It's sickening and anger-making. And she also made a joke about crossing into Syria. She said it was kind of fun speeding across the fields on a dirt bike as long as you didn't look left to the Syrian post about 200 yards away. She was trying to make light of the fact that she was taking a lot of risks there to get out a story that she thought was very important. She was also a very generous colleague. She helped us get our interview with Colonel Gaddafi last year. They asked her to nominate some other TV reporters to do it. And one of the people she chose, luckily enough for me, was the BBC. So Marie was a great presence, and she'll be sadly missed. And this is a terrible tragedy.
What has been your reaction and obviously the reaction of your colleagues to her death?
Well, there's total shock at the Sunday Times. Maria's worked for us for 25 years. She's a much loved member of staff here, a huge personality, not just a die-hard war reporter. She's somebody who was fun, full of life, joie de vivre, and had friends all over the world, and everybody is in shock at this. I mean, she is one of the most extraordinary war reporters of our generation.
Marie Colvin was a rare kind of foreign correspondent, brave under fire, but defined above all by her humanity. Among those paying tribute today was the Prime Minister.
Members of the House will also have seen the reports that the talented and respected foreign correspondent of the Sunday Times, Marie Colvin, has been killed from the bombing in Syria. This is a desperately sad reminder of the risks that journalists take to inform the world of what is happening and the dreadful events in Syria, and our thoughts should be with her family and with her friends.
Marie Colvin was an American who made her name working for Britain's Sunday Times. A statement from the newspaper said she'd believed reporting could curtail the excesses of brutal regimes and make the international community take notice. Marie Colvin made a specialism of reporting the Middle East.
I wish you were there, you wouldn't have to be jealous.
But she'd covered most of the major conflicts of the last 30 years. She'd narrowly escaped death in 2001 in Sri Lanka, where she was badly wounded.
If you are going to cover a war, you always weigh the risks. I mean, I had shrapnel in my eye and lost the sight in the left eye. There was no way to go, without taking that risk.
Nice to see you, Jeremy Bowen from the BBC.
Hi, Marie Colvin. We've met before. Nice to see you.
Last year, she was among a small group to interview Colonel Gaddafi. Her editor recalled a singularly determined reporter.
She believed she was a witness there to report things that other people couldn't do. And she believed in getting into places where people no other people could go, and that she would stay there and report it and try and make a difference.
Tonight, candles were lit in her memory at St. Bride's, the journalist church in London. In her devotion to the human story of war, Marie Colvin lived by the motto of the great correspondent Martha Gellhorn. It was essential to make an angry sound against injustice. It was a mission for which Marie Colvin lived and died.